Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Talking to Joel Ingersoll. He's got an idea for us. He's a PhD, and, academics is such a hot topic. You can't seem to, you really can't seem to turn on your TV or pick up a news magazine today without finding another story about it. He wants to, as you know, the listener knows, we've been doing an ongoing series of programs about potential radio programs, and he's pitched this idea called Take on College. Joel, a little bit about your background before we talk about your pitch.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks. Yes, I have a background. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, and I'm also a certified master coach, and I had worked on college campuses for 15 years in a couple of different capacities, one as a staff psychologist and second as an adjunct or affiliate faculty.
Very good. And talk about Take on College.
So Take on College, it's a really unique business and coaching service for college and college-bound students. And what we do is through one-to-one coaching throughout the academic year, we help students maximize their potential, achieve semester goals, define a fulfilling college experience, and prepare for a confident transition into their professional careers.
Okay. And that's an interesting, I guess you're kind of like a coach almost for the student himself.
We are. I mean, if you think of, in the business world, if you think of an executive coach, that's the function that we serve for each of the college students that we work with.
Okay, I like that. I like that idea. So tell us how this radio program would work.
Well, what we know through our research is that there's approximately 21 million college students in the United States alone. And on top of that, we have knowledge of very concerned, invested parents in their kids' educations and their college experience. And so knowing that there are significant numbers out there, I thought that one radio program that might be really great is to sort of feature some emphasis on the college experience, field questions from parents and students to really help them along throughout the process and progression through college.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you would envision this as a weekly type program?
Yeah, I think it would be great. I mean, there's so many topics that are salient to both parents and students that I think it would field a lot of great questions, great guests, and some great feedback for them.
Interesting. And have you actually begun to work on this, or was this more of those scenarios where you saw or help a reporter out request and you kind of had a eureka moment?
It's been a little bit of both, actually. I'm a regular blogger on my website, and I thought, what better way than to disseminate this information across such a wide range of listeners than radio.
Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, and or through podcasting, obviously, that can work as well.
Yes.
And so what kind of, first of all, how long have you been blogging? How frequently do you blog?
I've been blogging for a couple of years. Over the past year, though, I've really picked it up. I blog once a week, especially throughout the academic semester, and those blogs are targeted really toward peak performance and college-related issues that affect both students and parents. Okay,
very good. And how frequently?
Once a week.
Once a week. Yeah, very good. And that to me obviously sounds like something that would be very timely. There's just been a huge transformation going on, and I would hope a program like you're discussing would also deal with some controversial issues regarding academics. I saw this bizarre story just recently, I think on the Today Show, where they were talking about three high schools rather, producing over 200 valedictorians. And you talk about the problem of grade inflation, and to me it reeks of kids who get a trophy at the end of their soccer year without really knowing if they won any games or even if they didn't win any games. It really to me sees it as a threat on the emphasis on excellence. I would love to, I'm assuming you would deal with some of those issues as well, because eventually that's going to have a damaging impact on all students, I think.
Absolutely. It's become such a competitive business. Both admission to colleges, especially with so many businesses popping up, prepping kids to get into school, and then these schools really advertising, how great they are and everything, and getting into them is becoming more and more competitive. So that idea, though, about multiple valedictorians, within a senior class is, a bit absurd.
It's actually just sad if you think about it. It's the only word that comes to mind. And to me, it is really kind of frightening. I think the long-term consequences could be rather huge. I work a lot with millennials. We have an intern program, through our media, and they're an interesting breed anyway. They as a group tend to struggle in the social interaction, and I think a lot of that has to do with how much time they spend in technology. They're often very, very resistant to suggestions on how to better things, and I think a lot of that has to do with being in so-called sports environments that really discourages them learning what losing is all about. Losing is, John Wooten, the great basketball coach at UCLA, used to tell his team, whichever team makes the most mistakes is going to win this game. And this idea of throwing, a little bit of recklessness and a little bit of throwing fear to the wind and the effort of leaving it all on the court or in the classroom, to me, can make a huge difference. But it's not being cultivated in any of the primary cultures our kids are in today.
Right. That's one of my big concerns as well, that, students and young, adolescents aren't given the chance to learn from their mistakes and develop resiliency and confidence in their ability to analyze a problem or something that they haven't done well at in order to prepare steps in order to achieve their goals and become more self-confident. And that's one of the things that we really feature at Take On College.
Yep. Well, I think that's great. And obviously there's so many other different topics you could cover. You could have some great authors on a segment like this. Where You Go, I'm sure you've heard this book, Where You Go Will Not Make Who You Are. I read the book. I just finished it recently. Phenomenal book. It's written by a guy who, his siblings all ended up going to Ivy League schools, but he did not want any debt, and so he got a huge scholarship offered to him, I think from the University of South Carolina, and chose that route. And he makes an incredibly eloquent case that the top flight schools may not necessarily be the school you want to go to. And I know in my case, I went to Abilene Christian University, which was a very good school, highly regarded academically. But what was most extraordinary for me is that I came from a family background with very little emphasis on academics. I was the first one in my family line to finish my undergraduate degree. And I didn't have any support and or very little support. And at Abilene Christian Universities, I would have professors take me out to lunch, offer to have meetings with me, have coffee with me, really mentor me, which simply isn't done in the most elite universities for undergraduates. It's the kind of thing that can only happen in a school that's 90% undergraduate related. And, and that book really resonated with me. I think that's a timely topic as well, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously so many great schools out there, and some of these top-tier schools as advertised. However, what happens when students get into some of those schools is that they realize that they don't necessarily have the access to the professors who may be caught up in significant research projects, and they really don't get to know them and don't get the mentoring that is really necessary to help them along, with their academic and professional development goals while they're in school.
Yeah, I kind of think, especially with the mega schools, the mega universities, that the undergraduates pay for the programs and the graduate students enjoy the programs.
Yeah.
I get that sense. So anyway, hey, thanks so much for being with us. I think it's a very, very timely topic, and I want to encourage the listener to check out takeoncollege.com. Joel Ingersoll, our guest. And you know what? If this cultivates into something like a podcast, let us know, and we'd love to hear from you and see how that's progressing.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kevin.
You bet. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com, and you're listening to The Price of Business.